Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is your Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy, and I'm back. I know I've been away for a while. To be honest, things got a little bit crazy on the home front, the day job front, and then I took 3 weeks worth of holidays. But I'm back now, better than ever, ready to rock it, feeling refreshed, and super stoked to be back behind the mic for you yet again. We've got a lot of great guests lined up coming in the near future. So I can't wait to get these podcasts out to you. But for this one, we'll be doing a solo one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this solo episode all about uncertainty and overcoming it in today's environment. Welcome one, welcome all to the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast, a weekly podcast series dedicated to helping you hit peak performance across the three domains of leadership. Those being leading yourself, leading your team, and leading your organization. This podcast couples my 20 years of military experience as a senior Canadian Army officer with world-class guests to bring you the most complete podcast on leadership going. And for more, feel free to check out our website at movingforwardleadership.com. And with that, let's get to the show. The world is uncertain. We as leaders, uncertainty is definitely unavoidable. Hell, look at the world today. But how you respond to it is what separates you, the high-performing leader, from the rest of the pack. Today, that's what we're going to be diving into. We're going to talk about uncertainty. We're going to frame the problem of it. Why does it exist? We're going to talk about the impact it has on you as a leader, and no doubt you're already going to recognize a lot of what I'm going to say there. And then we're going to talk about some strategies to overcome those problems. And finally, we'll talk about the integration and how you can definitely up your game. Are you guys ready for this? All right, let's do it. So welcome one, welcome all. It is your Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy. And, thanks for tuning into this podcast video, however you're digesting this content. All right. So what I'm going to be doing in the future now and moving forward basically is my solo shows. I will be recording them video, uploading them to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, etc., and then turning them into the audio podcast that I've been doing for so long. So there we go. Anyway, uncertainty. Let's dive into, because as leaders, it is crucial we understand this because we face it on a daily basis. As you know, the world is super uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, especially, in North America. Let's just keep it there. So let's talk about what causes uncertainty. Have you ever actually thought about it? Like, everyone knows what uncertainty is, but what is the cause of it? And you might say, it's this thing or this person, what have you. But there's actually three things that cause uncertainty. It is a lack of information, a lack of knowledge or understanding, and a lack of trust. So let's dive into why those are. And they are linked. It's a tiered system here. Okay? Go from information to knowledge, understanding to trust. So let's talk about this whole chain, shall we? So the first thing, lack of information, pretty simple. You simply don't have the facts that you need. This causes uncertainty because you are craving more information. Especially us leaders, we feel like often we just don't have enough information to make a decision, to be able to forecast the future, what have you. The second part of the problem is the lack of knowledge or understanding. We have the information, we have the facts, but we just don't know how to piece it together. We don't know what this information is actually telling us. We don't understand what is being said. Okay? This can cause a lot of uncertainty because then there's a lot of self-doubt that will come in, right? Because you will start thinking imposter syndrome that will start popping in. And simply put, the lack of knowledge, you will doubt your ability, which then ties into the last part, which is the lack of trust. When we have the information, we have the knowledge, but we doubt our ability to, or our team's ability to get it done, to meet expectations, to get after it. All right. And these aren't isolated. Like I said, they feed one into the other. Poor information leads to bad understanding, which leads to doubt about capabilities and reliability. So when we piece this all together, what impact does that have for you? Well, it causes 3 gaps, right? It causes 1, an information gap. And the consequence for you, indecisive. You're like, I don't want to make a decision right now. I don't know enough to make this call right now. You may miss opportunities because you don't know about the opportunity. And you've heard me talk about this so many times, you end up becoming reactive, which we don't want to be because we want to be what? That's right. We want to be proactive. And having an information gap leads us becoming reactive. We become reactive leaders. So it's that proactive leader we want to be. So when we have information gaps, you end up in this indecision space, you end up missing these opportunities, and you end up becoming reactive. When we have the knowledge gaps, the impacts that you're going to have are analysis paralysis. You are just going to sit there because you don't understand the problem set and what the information is actually telling you. You're going to constantly try to analyze and analyze more because you think there's more there to be analyzed. So you end up in this paralysis state. Or you end up with poorly or misaligned priorities. So you're pushing to go left when the reality is you should be going right. And I realize that I just pointed in the wrong direction with my finger if you're watching on this video, but whatever, you get my point. Let's have some fun, shall we? So yeah, you get the misaligned priorities, which then turns your organization down the wrong road. And then finally, which leads to, right, this will lead to inconsistent decisions. Things that might be okay one day become not so okay the next day, or vice versa. We're going left, no, we're going right, we're going right, no, we're going to go left, etc. That is knowledge gap. And then finally, when you have a trust gap, this ends up into our bossing domain, as I like to refer to it, where we become very much a boss. We end up micromanaging because we don't think our team can do it, or we don't have trust, and basically micromanagement is a symptom of imposter syndrome. So you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your team, and you end up micromanaging whatever it is you're working on, vice working on what you should be working on. The other thing is that you end up with burnout for yourself and your team because you just don't trust. And burnout doesn't have to occur by working long hours. Burnout can occur by constantly feeling the pressure through the normal workday and not achieving the results that are desired. If you have that pressure on your team every day through the day, you will achieve burnout 100%. It will happen. Okay. So you'll feel it, your team will feel it, and then finally, you may end up overcompensating people because you think that they might be the expert when they're not. You want to grab a hold to them and bring them onto your team, which in turn ends up not actually happening. So keep this in mind, that you want to be proactive by trying to control all the outcomes from a place of fear. And that's one of the biggest things as leaders. One of our biggest failures is we often get into this fear mindset. And then from that place of fear, we start making decisions. And those decisions simply do not drive us forward in the right direction. So how do we overcome these gaps and these basically issues with uncertainty? Well, when it comes to your lack of information, start asking better questions. Make sure that you ask open-ended questions and seek multiple sources. Okay? Maybe the one source is not good enough. So seek multiple sources, ask better questions. If you don't know what better questions are, seek the advice of an expert, which is the multiple source. Okay? Next thing is try to clarify what information, what data is critical, and what other stuff is just plain old noise. A lot of time when I'm coaching, I find leaders get sucked into rabbit holes of noise. And like, doesn't matter. This is what matters. So you have to be really in a calm and clear headspace to be able to go and actually determine those two different things. And then finally, another piece of advice on clarifying your lack of information: use some structured frameworks that enable you to gather information quickly. Maybe that's dashboards, that's reports, that's your KPIs, your key metrics. Okay, these things can help you, but again, you have to make data informed decisions. All right, to address your lack of knowledge or lack of understanding, translate the information that you have into meaning. What does this imply for our team, our project, our organization, whatever it is? The so what, as we say in the Army. What does this matter? By the way, I always hated that saying, so what, just in case any military people are there listening. But you have to ask yourself, what does this matter? Why does this matter? Okay. Again, leverage expertise from mentors. Maybe you have internal subject matter experts, or seek external resources. Turn the information you have into knowledge or understanding. And then finally, test your assumptions. Assumptions, I love them in planning. They suck in execution. So you want to test them and run small experiments to validate your thought process. And then finally, to address your lack of trust, make sure you overcome that imposter syndrome. Focus on your skill development. Be deliberate in your preparation and decision-making confidence. Remember, when making decisions, you make a decision and new information comes to light, changing it is not saying you had made a poor decision. It means that there's new information and light, and you now have a new decision to make. Still on the lack of trust and overcoming that, build trust in your team, empower them, delegate to them, and hold them accountable. Make sure you establish clear expectations and communicate to them consistently. This will overcome your lack of trust. But the one kicker, which I'll tell you is essential for overcoming all of this, is getting rid of your ego. Reminding yourself you don't know squat and going after it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That's how you tackle uncertainty. That's how I've tackled it through my military career when operating in what we refer to as VUCA environments: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. environments. And no doubt this will help you. And if it's helped you, maybe it's going to help a friend of yours. So be sure to pass it on. All right. And if you can't figure this out, I do have coaching, one-to-one coaching slots available. Reach out to me, Scott at movingforwardleadership.com, or simply go to movingforwardleadership.com and hit the contact button and send me a message. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week. Thank you as always. Take care. And as always, lead, don't boss now. And that's a wrap for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast. But you know what you could do to truly support the podcast? And no, that's not leaving a rating and review. It's simply helping a friend. And that is helping a friend by sharing this episode with them if you think this would resonate with them and help them elevate their performance level, whether that's within themselves, their teams, or their organization. So do that. Help me, help a friend, win-win all around. And hey, you look like a great friend at the same time. So just hit that little share button on your app, and then feel free to fire this episode to anyone that you feel would benefit from it. Finally, there's always more. There's always more lessons around being the highest performing leader that you can possibly be, whether that's for yourself, your team, or your organization. So why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the show via movingforwardleadership.com/subscribe. And until next time, lead, don't boss, and thanks for coming out. Take care now.